All right, let's start with 9.6, Mr. Chairman.
9.6 is a follow-up to the discussion we had about doing a study for the undergrounding of the road over on A Street or the train station that's coming up. And that was a $45,000 budget item. And we have an existing state grant that can be used to fund this study. I see that there was $90,000 added for the undergrounding of the West B Street undercrossing. And that's the 90,000 is actually 95,000. I guess there's a budget limit that's being suggested. I find that that's problematic because that's not what we were after, and to have this added as a rider, I think, is a problem without being discussed in front of the public. I also think that until that study is done, that spending money to underground the crossing at B Street is premature. I think that we may not want to do the relocation of all those lines. I know that will cost a lot of money. I think that we can further study it after we've made a decision as to whether we're going to go ahead with the A Street undercrossing.
Okay, I know the city engineer can respond to that, but I will also make some comments as well.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My recollection from the council study session on rail were that the decisions that were made was the council directed staff to proceed with the $45,000 feasibility study for the potential undergrounding of A Street at the rail crossing. Second item, direction was received from council was to proceed with the design studies by 5 utility companies that currently operate utilities within the railroad right-of-way, and for the city to proceed with the design of the B Street pedestrian crossing independent of whether there was going to be an undergrounding of A Street or a rail station, etc. That is my recollection of the direction we received from council.
That too is my recollection. And going back and looking at the recommendations that were placed on the screen, there were 3 recommendations. One, and those 3 recommendations are listed here in 9.6. As for spending money to look at the underground, I think before you decide how to proceed, you got to find out all of the data. Right? We are often accused of not getting all of the facts and looking at all of the options. And so this is a way to do that. That's what this grant money is designed to do. And at this point, I believe and firmly believe that what we are asking or approving on the consent calendar under 9.6 was exactly what this council agreed to at our last council meeting. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question for you, Jack. Where does it list the 3 alternatives or 3 things that we were?
I believe when we had the.
I thought you said it was within the staff report.
No, I didn't say it was in the packet. I said it was up on the screen at our last council meeting,
Yeah.
and those recommendations. And there was a motion made to move forward with all 3 of the recommendations or all 3 of the issues that appear under 9.6. So this council has taken action. This council has approved that. And again, my belief is that we need to proceed with that.
My question then remains, what were the 3 things that we approved?
One was to spend $95,000 to do engineering studies for the relocation, or what it will take to relocate the underground utilities, sewer, gas, that sort of thing. And then also to move forward with looking at the possibilities of once we get the Parkway Boulevard overcrossing completed, to look at a second option of undergrounding West A Street that is not as intrusive as the original one, and that's what the $45,000 was for.
That was for the 45. So what was the 3rd thing?
and then the 90,000 for the reimbursement agreements under crossing facilities.
You listed that as the first thing. So there's only two that I've heard so far.
I believe it was, I'm not sure if this was the same one, but whether or not to put it at the location, and that if staff felt that it wasn't. Is this a different one? They're looking at me.
The third item I mentioned was the direction from council was for staff to proceed with the design of the B Street pedestrian undercrossing, irrespective of any of the other projects. That
We have preliminary designs
B
now.
Street, right, that's correct, and that the B Street pedestrian crossing was of significant importance to the city, and it's unfortunately tragic, but ironic, that within a week after that meeting, or 2 weeks after that meeting, we had a fatality on First Street, of
And
a pedestrian.
if my memory serves me correctly, when I was not in the seat as mayor, but as a council member, the council did look at the two options for the underground crossing. One, the overcrossing, as well as the underground crossing. It was also suggested that a modification be looked at for the underground crossing that would provide capabilities for emergency vehicle to get under there. That was done. It came back to council, and council approved and recommended that we continue with the underground crossing without any provisions for emergency vehicles, because of the way that that would have to be designed, it would be like a maze trying to get through the underground from one side of the railroad tracks to the other. So those are the three issues. Any other questions?
No, but I have one statement I want to make. I thank you for the explanation. It seems that we have the 90,000 to do this. I just didn't remember us talking about that because we spent so much time on the 45,000.
Okay.
Also, the other thing of saying that it was ironic that there was a fatality on North First Street. The understanding that I have was that these people were partying at Bud's and were highly intoxicated when they went across there. I have not seen anything that says that one way or the other, but that is the story. And once again, we're looking at spending inordinate amounts of money because of somebody's foolish decisions.
Well,
Thank you.
I will just make one comment. The loss of any life, whether the person was impaired, whether the person used poor judgment, or whether the person failed to look at and be aware of any trains coming, is unacceptable to me. To say that because they were impaired or they were disabled, and that takes away our need to look at providing a safe grade separation for our citizens, is unacceptable to me. All right.
I'd like to say one thing. Pedestrian crossings at rail locations are very important, the way they're situated. That particular location sees a number of kids crossing every school day. And that is the reason that we made that one of our primary positions on doing something about that particular crossing. We have not just kids, but anyone who has to cross that track. It's a well-known fact that trains look like they're coming slower than they really are because they're so big and they're moving very fast. In my tenure here in this community, we've had a number of fatalities on the rails. You can't blame them all because somebody was impaired or not impaired, but the reality is that people cross there on a regular basis. Those trains go by quite frequently, and I think at the time we had this meeting, we hashed all that out. I think we were all voted to proceed, and I would recommend that we do so.
Okay, let's move on to 9.7. Mike, you had-
I have one final comment.
All right. Well, this will be the last comment.
That's fine. The thing is, I'm not trying to be flippant about the necessity of putting in a crossing on B Street. That's a whole different story. What I'm saying is it doesn't make any difference if you have a police officer escorting these people. If they want to get out there and kill themselves, they're going to do it.
That's true.
It's been proven at BART stations where they jump off the platform and get smacked by trains. There is nothing that any government can do to stop this. And to say that we're going to go out and spend $60 million to prevent people from doing what they're going to do anyway, I think is ridiculous, and that's my opinion. Thank you.
All right, moving on.